enforcement. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, got the consent agenda here, guys. Anyone take a look at that yet?
Okay, I would make a motion to approve consent agenda. Does anyone have any additions or corrections for the agenda?
I do not.
Minutes. Treasurer's report is included, accounts payable,
Thank you, sir.
and a fireworks permit permits Nightster at 25616 Irish Avenue on the 4th of July.
Second the motion.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Consideration formal action, liquor license renewals. Amber, you said we have one for.
We have one for Midwest Mixers. It's a mobile liquor license. It's pending dram shop in the system. It's for an event at Hillsdale Lily Garden, off of Highway 275 for Friday evening, June 27th. And they did send me a copy of their dram shop. They're just waiting for the state to review it and push it through to us for final.
Can we go ahead and approve it then? or
You
with-
can approve it pending dram shop approval and submit to local authority.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license on pending litigation that the state gets their work.
And submit to them.
I will second that motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the liquor license for Midwest Mixers at Hillsdale Lily Farms pending state approval. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Jack?
Stay.
Motion carries. Consideration formal action regarding a tobacco permit renewal. Any of those?
Yep, so in your packet, there's a list. I've got E-Stop, Lake Ohana Market, Love's Travel Stop, Dollar General, outside Tabor, Dollar General outside of Malvern, and Lincoln Farm Health. These are annual tobacco permits that will be effective July 1, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve list of tobacco renewals.
I will second that motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the listed tobacco permits. Is there any discussion? You see there's just annual? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jack?
Stay.
Okay, any public comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment regarding the discussion we had last week, comment and or suggestion. You explained how the public comment works, and there's a section for it. We're in it right now. And you said it's not normally appropriate when motions are on the floor. We understand that. And thanks for that explanation. What I'd like to do is possibly suggest adding a public commentary towards the end after you guys have talked about certain items and had discussion and either approved or disapproved any of the motions. Then there's no time for public commentary after we've heard your discussion and your decision. I'm glad to have this section at the front so that we look at the agenda and we see things and we can make commentary, and supposedly you take it into consideration then in your decisions. But when do we, the public, then have a chance to comment on what we just heard when new facts and things may have arisen? So I don't know if you could have a public commentary towards the end. It's just something to think about.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll just make a comment on that. Well, I had two meetings, one last week and one yesterday, where they had actually changed. They have this like we have right here with public comment to start with. Then when it's before we ended or adjourned the meeting, we said, ask anyone to come and, vent comments or say something and stuff. And it worked out well. Nobody got, avid about it and things. So we're here to help the public, and if we can do this, I think we should. So.
Okay. Committee meeting updates. Last week I had a MAPPA Zoom and I had a meeting at juvenile detention. Nothing really to report on those.
Last week I had a Board of Adjustment meeting. Approved a few variances, one for, I believe, a shed, and then the other one, somebody was opening up a massage parlor in her house. She does the service already, so now she's going to be able to do it in her house now that it's regulated. In addition to that, there was one that was denied. Mr. Henry Clark's variance was denied. He asked for a 24-foot variance. The maximum variance is 25, and code only allows the Board of Adjustment to do 50% of the maximum. So he was about 12 feet or so over the limit for the Board of Adjustment, so it was denied for that. But that's all I had.
Several meetings last week. One of them was on a watershed meeting, Watershed Management Authority. For a year and a half. Pardon?
Nishna?
No, this is a regular watershed meeting authority with Golden Hills. And there hasn't been any money put into this organization for a year and a half, and they're still asking us to do things with grants if we could qualify. Folks, one of the comments that was made at the meeting, which was very disturbing to me, is there was a gentleman on screen that was telling about all the floods and things that took part in the northeastern part, clear back to 2011, telling how devastating and stuff it was. And Scott Belt and I was about to speak, and Scott speaks up and says, sir, it would have been nice if you would have just mentioned Southwest Iowa. And the gentleman's comment to everybody there was, well, they're only 30% of our population. End of conversation. So anyway, I also attended a meeting, a Zoom meeting on Wednesday afternoon. It's on what the state is doing to 911 or money that we receive from them. It used to be a 60-40 split to us. Now it's a 40-60 split to them. And then they're also going to send us our 40% of our money and turn around and take, and we will have to send them back a check for 10% of that. It would be a total of $20,000 a year right now. That may not sound like too much, but last week we used some of our money out of that to pay for an air conditioner here on the side of the building. So the state said, well, we just couldn't see anybody's asking for more money. Well, what do? I mean, we've set our budgets already. So, and the last meeting that I attended was our emergency service as an essential business and things. Well, I brought in some people that had just done this in Cass County, give us an overrun of what we would have to do to organize, get everybody on board, the people we would have to see, how we could raise a little money for signs, things like this, advertisements and stuff. And MS board mulled it around probably for 20 minutes and decided not to put it on this fall's ballot. It will go on 2026 ballot a year and a half from now, and they felt better about all the things that they're looked at to do. You got to convince the people this is going to be a tax asking. This is not something that I don't like the tax asking, but I'm telling you folks, I don't know what else we're going to do to serve the people. So I'll quit there.
Yes, I just had a question about that, Richard. Was there with pushing it back till 2026, I just want to verify that we're actually able to do that.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, there's nothing in the code that states, once you start this, the timeline as far as putting it on a ballot, there's nothing in the code about that, so, they did choose, Joe George as chairman and, Jeff Goose as co-chairman.
Thank you. Jones County Engineer, consideration formal action approval to hire a grader operator.
Yes, you all have a copy of Jake's letter. He did successfully interview Alex Longroth. I was not in the interview. Jake will usually do that with the foreman that the potential employees working for. Life is good. Good interview. He's got some good experience. We're excited to get him on board. Not sure if you were aware, we've been without an operator since March, which means at least two other operators from different areas will have to trade off and cover. So we have 7 grader operator areas that we've been getting by to 6. Maybe not that successfully. So that letter also states that he's liking to start next Monday.
Make a motion to approve the hire of Alex Longroth as a grader operator starting on Monday, June 30th, 2025, with a starting wage of $26.09 per hour for the union contract.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the hire of Alex Lonroth starting Monday, June 30th at the wage of $26.09 an hour per union contract. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, and the next action you will not be able to do today. Ran into a little glitch with DOT contracts. So a condition that neither I nor Jake have experienced. The H12 reconstruction is a 5-mile project. That's always a concern. Will there be enough money? The decision was made early on. Let's look at 2 options. There's a couple of sections of that road that maybe not as bad as the rest of it. So the option allows you to, if the bids are too high, you don't exercise the options and you try to take care of that a little later. That's not an optimal way to do the project, as you probably know, but it's what we were faced with. Things started looking a little better money wise, and back in December of 24, Jake may have been at a conference and was asked offhanded by one of the DOT contracts person in an email, what's your maximum limit on this project? He says, well, okay, $3 million. So we moved right along. Did have to pull the project from an earlier letting, as you were informed. There's just a couple of things in the bid package that didn't look quite right. So we got that completed and had a bid opening on earlier this month, last week. Got 2 bids, both of them within a couple $100,000 of the engineer's estimate. However, both of the estimates, as I said earlier, Jake gave them a limit of $3 million. They both came in somewhere over 3.1 million. We figured we had a successful bid opening, checking the FM balance. We've got enough money to do the entire project. However, Jake then got an email from Contracts that quoted a developmental spec that, it's not very long, but, it says that, if all bids exceed the contract award limit, the $3 million, then the bidder with the lowest bid for the base set of items will be considered for award. Contracting authority may award a contract to the bidder with the lowest bid for the base set that exceeds the contract award limit. Here's the real kicker. The contracting authority will not award a contract for a bid with added options exceeding the contract award limit. What that means is, they will allow us to award a contract, but not the options. So that means there's 2 1-mile stretches in that 5 miles that, according to the DOT, we can't award. It's a little more interesting because Jake then sent an email to Contracts saying, okay, what can we do? I was not aware when I was sent an email that, that $3 million is set in stone. We've got a good FM balance. We should be able to.
So you bid them.
Should be able to award this project. The interesting thing is they accepted his $3 million limit via email, but when he sent this and another person in Contracts then forwarded, said, what does he need to do? The answer was, well, it needs to be more than an email. So it's okay for them to send us an email, but we can't send one back. At this point, I don't think it'd be proper to speculate what we're gonna do. Certainly, there's always options. One of them might be that, we will need to perform the options under some local money. I don't know if that's feasible. We will hold out hope that, they'll allow us an exception to this development spec and award the contract with the options. So, I'm sure Jake will want to talk to you about this again next week. Hopefully we'll have a little more data. Him and I will work on it when he gets back tomorrow for the rest of the week. Hopefully he'll have some good news for you next Tuesday. Perfect. So,
All right.
occasionally bad news.
Yeah.
Keep us updated on
Yeah,
it.
it'll happen.
Yeah.
Any general discussion?
Yeah, I've got a couple of items that Jake wanted me to talk about. We've got a couple pieces of equipment that is, it's now an agrivision, skid loader and a tractor boom mower. I believe that's on the payables, so I have to pick up 2 checks today that Mark will deliver that. Seal coat update. We're hauling the chips in right now. Trent thinks that maybe by next week we'll be ready to go. Stay Built was ready last week, so we don't know if they'll be ready to go next week when we are, but fairly soon we'll get going on those. That will involve H12 to go from L55 to M16, 225th Street, 250th, and 315th. A note on H12, that road will be reclaimed and allowed to sit for a year, and we will reseal it next year.
Yeah, he told us that.
And that's a fairly standard operating procedure for seal coat roads. You can reseal and reseal, and eventually through the years of traffic and freeze thaw, if you've noticed, you drive on some seal coat roads and you're kind of doing this, that's time to reshape the cross section. And you can't just do that by resealing. You need to grind it up, blade it, continue to blade it for the coming season, and it will be resealed next year. It does cause some concern when travelers or neighbors or people living on the road see that there are surfaces gravel, but it is temporary.
We did that south of Auburn a while back too, if I recall. Good.
And I believe that's all I've got for notes. Any questions?
I have none. Thank you, sir. Melissa around?
Should be. You can grab Melissa.
Thank you. How are you, Melissa? Good. Pay increase for Jamie Fisher after successful completion of probationary period.
Yes, so Jamie has completed 6 month probationary period. We did our evaluation last week. In that time, she has been certified to be able to issue driver's license.
Good deal.
She's passed her CDE training, so she's able to give drug tests. So when it's their license, they have to come in and do a drug test. She's certified to be able to do that.
Good.
Continues to learn motor vehicle. And she's doing.
Good deal. What is she making now?
She is at 49.10.
We're moving to
54.1.
I'll make a motion to authorize a pay increase for Jamie Fisher after her successful completion of a 6-month probationary period from 49.10 to 54.100 starting July 1st.
Board feel that it's all right for me to second, or should I have?
yeah. Yeah,
I
I think you're okay
will
with that.
second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to authorize a pay increase for Jamie Fisher for completion of her probationary period. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
heard nothing but good things about Jamie, so glad she's here.
Mr. England, you are up. We're gonna call you Schultz. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, we'd have to talk.
Right, right.
What's on first?
Acceptance of resignation.
Okay, Alex Kilpack, change of life plans for him, has decided to resign, become an electrician. His last day will be July 5th. So I'm asking that you guys accept his resignation and then give us approval to start the hiring process. With that approval, when we did our last testing, the Civil Service Board approved a certified list for us. We do have one candidate that's still on the list, and he'll probably accept the job. We shouldn't have to do any psychological or testing. The only thing we should have to do with him would just be medical testing. He's currently working as a certified law enforcement officer, so it should be a pretty good turnaround.
I would make a motion to accept the resignation of Officer Kilpack and to authorize the sheriff to go ahead and open the position up for hire.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Alex Kilpack and approval to hire for open deputy position. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. School resource officer liaison with East Mills.
Yep, this one, the contract's pretty much, it's gonna be the exact same as last year. We didn't raise our prices this year, since I raised them last year. ultimately, everything's gonna stay the same. The only thing we need from you guys is actually just a signature on it to move forward with it. Like that be for you, Mr. Chairman?
Perfect, thank you.
Make a motion to approve the school resource officer liaison program agreement with East Mills.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the school resource officer liaison program with East Mills. Is there any discussion? Same as last year, you say?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
And then I've got a copy, give you guys copies of everything, the resignation letter.
Yep.
And then also in this, the sheriff had the IPI, the prison industries. I think it was the updated quote. You guys have approved everything else. I don't think he ever got you an official copy.
Oh, okay.
So I'll leave this with you. That's all your
Everybody
copy.
gets those. Consideration formal action approval of wage increase for office manager and clerk.
Yes, so I know back when you guys did all the budget stuff, you guys had all the talks and it sounds like you guys were okay with the sheriff raising their salaries. Sounds like it's already in the budget that you guys had certified, but it sounds like according to Jolene and the auditor that we had to have a formal motion on it.
Good.
So that's what I'm here is actually do the formal motion. For the office manager, the sheriff was wanting to do the pay at $63,998. And then for the office clerk, it would be $56,772.
772.
Yep, 772. Like I said, this was all worked into the budget, so it's all there, everything's ready to go. It just sounds like we had to have an actual formal motion on it, because it was never formally approved, I suppose.
It does reflect in your next year's budget.
Yes, sir. It does.
What do you think, gentlemen? Effective
It'd be effective July.
July
1st.
1.
This is besides the 2.5.
This was instead of,
Let's do it properly. I'll make a
There
motion,
you go.
put this on the floor.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the wage increase of the office manager and clerk. Any discussion?
Yes, I have quite a problem with giving someone an 8% increase. Whether they're worth it or not, but everybody else is getting a 2 to 2.5% increase. Does this involve the 2% plus the 8%?
no,
I just don't feel it's right to bump someone, I don't care what department it's in, to bump them up a large amount like this, for stating, well, we need to bring them within range of what everybody else is. They were hired at this amount. They got a 2%, they're gonna get a 2%, a 2 or 2.5% increase this year, along with everybody else. And now you're throwing an 8% increase on top of it. I just can't swallow, I mean, it's tough enough to make things work. And, we was ridiculed and browbeat and everything else last spring about everything going up, and here we are adding 10,000, 11, almost, I think it figures out almost $11,000 in salary for two people.
I do understand that, and I guess that, as the sheriff's trying to do, he's trying to keep them in line with people across the other office managers and office clerks throughout the rest of the county. It seems like our two ladies are falling behind, looking at the resolutions from everything else, so he's just trying to keep them up there so we can keep good staff. We can't have some departments getting higher wages when they're doing the same exact thing just because they work for a different
It's
department.
gonna be just like last week when we turned down some other stuff. This is gonna open a door for several different departments in the county here that's gonna come in and say, well, you let the sheriff raise their people to this, I wanna raise mine to this.
I'd ask for a roll call vote on this, please.
Any other discussion?
You,
I don't got anything to say. I just want a roll call vote.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Mayberry,
Yes.
Sayers,
No,
Crouch,
no,
Motion fails. Okay, next item on the agenda is proposed job description change.
I think we're tabling that.
Table
you're
now.
tabling it?
Yes.
you're
I believe we're
tabling
tabling it.
the
Okay.
job description.
I just got a few questions I was wondering with that. I guess I didn't learn about this. Come up here, John, please. I didn't learn about this until yesterday, and so I'm a little, well, I guess I gotta ask Lonnie, did you know about this at all? Proposed job description change for Matthew Scott?
No, I did not.
Richard, did you?
After last week's meeting, the sheriff and the chief of police were in here. They asked me to sit and visit with them about this.
Okay.
And, you know, it was totally new to me then, and I thought, and then I didn't know they was gonna bring it up this week or anything. I thought we would have discussion on it and things, but we didn't actually set any perimeters or nothing, you know, we just kind of talked about, you know, the sheriff and the city both are having problems with accidents or running into, dogs at large, and what are they gonna do with them? How are they gonna handle them? You know, where are they gonna go with them? Chief of
Huge
police
expense.
mentioned going to council bus. He says, I will help you in emergency situations only. So, I don't know the sheriff, you know, he says, you know, we looked at building kennels and things down there, and I just looked at both of them, and I says, folks, I'm not in the mood of getting into taking care of dogs, because it gets very costly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna have to do something, unfortunately, because we're running into it. Say, one of our deputies stops somebody out on the roadway. They're traveling through the county, or say they're OWI or something like that. They're not from here. They've got a animal, whether it be a cat, a dog, something in the vehicle. What do we do with it? The county is now liable for it. We have nowhere to go. Can't allow that person to stay out on the roadway. They gotta go to corrections. What do we do with this dog? What do we do with the animal?
Is there anything in code that gives, because when it comes to animal bites, if I remember correctly from reading it, specifically with animal bites, they can either be quarantined at home for 10 days, and that obviously won't work in this situation, or they can go to a vet office or a shelter of any kind, anywhere, and it goes to the owner's expense. I mean, do we want to get into the business of having kennels, having to take care of them, having the insurance if something goes wrong and one of them, God forbid, dies or gets injured, and then it comes back on us? I mean, is there anything in the code that says that?
We're looking at developing an ordinance that would help encompass all that.
Okay,
But the main problem now is that we're having law enforcement come across animals on stops for subsequent to arrests, and we have nowhere to do with these animals. And we
Would-
certainly can't be putting them in patrol cars and transporting them, and
was this started by your guys' office first, this kind of idea? Was it started by your
It's
guys'?
countywide.
yeah.
I just didn't know if
Years
we
ago,
kinda
we
did
used,
it first.
I think we had a animal control that was south of town there.
Mhm.
And I don't think it lasted somewhat of a year, if that.
It's expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna have to do something, because unless you guys have an idea, one of my guys stops somebody and there's an animal in the car, what do we do with it? We leave them in the car?
Subsequent to arrest, we only have the problem, someone calls in and they're
Yeah,
reported as just a straight pit bull wandering around.
we get that all the time.
There's nothing.
We can't do anything with it. The biggest thing for us is, hey, we come across somebody and arrest them. We don't have a choice sometimes. Our hand is forced. We have to arrest. Now what do we do with the dog? Tow companies don't want it. They don't want that responsibility. County's gonna have to step up and do something about it. We don't have an option.
Keep us up to speed.
Are you guys trying to correlate whatever, this change is, to making sure that dogs have a place to go with anything about animal bites, rabies, things that public health already does, that's free to the county because we get it through a grant. I just want to make sure, why would we pay for something when a grant already covers that specific
Well,
area?
that's why I wanted to table it before that, but
I appreciate that. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Keep
Caitlin,
keep us in town,
You're up.
folks.
Thank you.
brought back up.
Hey, how's the whole team? Whole team, show and tell. Hi, guys.
How are you?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Consideration formal action, community health worker program agreement with Blue Livingston Hospital.
So this is your new community health worker.
How are you?
This is Ben.
How you doing today?
This partnership was really, one between public health and Jenny Ed, and it's through our grant this program. We've talked a little bit about that. But Ben is here and up and running. And so what he does and kind of how we logistically really change some things is that anybody that is general assistance or anybody that is a high hazard hospital or any sort of system within our county, goes through Ben and he does an intake and then he just determines what possibility he could access or if they need some more stabilization in case we need advanced services.
Good.
So far, we're doing pretty well. I'll let Caitlin kind of talk about the nitty gritty nuts and bolts of the contract.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just drive home the financial benefit of this program to Mills County and the county as a whole. So we previously had a full-time community health worker, and then you're looking at paying full-time benefits for it. And so with this partnership, Ben is actually employed through the hospital, and Mills County Public Health will cover his base salary. And then Jenny Ed Hospital covers the rest. So you're looking at roughly a $20,000 benefit there that Mills County doesn't have to pay to get a full-time employee. What we had talked about doing before is maybe we can only get a part-time employee, but now for about the same cost, we're getting full-time services in the county. Also with the flexible funding program, so what they're doing is the county general relief fund that exists anyways. That's acting as a match to the flexible funding program. So Jenny Ed's putting in 70,000 to our 35,000 that the county puts in. And so you're looking at the program as a whole, the total value is about 180,000 and Mills County tax dollars is only covering 90 of that. So that's really the benefit of this program.
The 70,000 doesn't have to apply to how general relief dollars are normally applied. So that gives us some flexibility in making sure that people that might not otherwise qualify for general relief, we can actually get them stabilized so they don't get to the point where they would actually need general relief. So that leaves those dollars specifically for people that are at the deepest need. We need that as a last resort.
And then the contract's been reviewed by everyone, Board of Health, County Attorney's Office, everyone in the hospital. So it's ready to be signed and be executed.
All right.
Well, I didn't quite understand it, so I got on the phone and called a couple board members and says, all right, lay this out in front of me, how it works and things. After listening to those two people, I mean, I was at the meeting, but I didn't quite catch how all of it was gonna work, but when they explained it to me, it's kind of a no-win situation for us to do. It saves us some money. It gives us an expert in the field we need someone in. So I think it's very important that we make a partnership of this, so.
No, it's great for the county. It's great for the people. It's great for the taxpayers. And I've ran into you a few times now, Ben, and I've heard nothing but good things about you. So I'm glad that we have you on the team. So I appreciate that. I'd make a motion to sign the community health worker program agreement with Jenny Edmondson Hospital.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the community health worker program agreement with Jenny Edmondson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much.
Morning ranch with discounts.
Just,
Gotta fix the donuts.
it's you,
I know. I'm being generous.
little people.
Gotta try. My words don't work.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
And then I'll get it signed and send it over.
Okay, make sure Amber gets a copy of that,
Yes,
please.
I was getting over.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Those Hills landfill. You guys are up.
Morning.
Gentlemen,
Morning.
we just thought we'd bring you in with the hot seats.
I like it. I like it.
Update on property and complaints.
We try to stay ahead of it, like we talked the other day. try to stay on top of our hauling company a little more so when they stay on top of themselves. Last year we've implemented a few rules at our site to impact basically everything outside the landfill. One being all trucks have to leave tarped, not allowed to leave the landfill untarped. That way anything stuck in their load or trailer can blow out. We shut down trucks. Well, we don't shut them down, we just tell them they can't come back into the landfill if they have tarp issues or issues with them. Basically forces the company to shut their own truck down if they're not. So our goal is to be a good neighbor to everybody. Yeah, that's our big agenda.
Our most recent complaint that IDNR showed up on site for IDNR gave us a substantial compliance rating. So no issues found. Like Ryan said, I mean, we're cleaning the road. We hire a company to come and sweep the roads, and we have third party and our own people that you'll see riding the highway. Our goal, like you said, is to be great neighbors and be a part of the community. Whatever we can do to keep that relationship going, we want to do. Perfect.
I'll say right now, it is kind of stand out like a sore thumb right this minute. Yeah, we are almost at max height. Right. I think we're pushing like 1265. We can go 1275. Well, at the edge, and then the max height is actually 1290. We probably won't be getting to 1290. We're just gonna finish out that 1265 mark where we're at now. And then by then, we should be going down into our new cell and be out of sight for a while.
Okay.
So.
Because you're blocking the sun.
It's getting up there.
On all that dirt you see will be seeded. We've already got some growth on the east side.
Nice side.
So that north side, we're getting the stormwater controls that have to be in place. Get seed down, and as we dive down, it'll just get grass and go up there.
The one thing on some of the trucks, we call them flappers.
Yeah.
I cannot figure out why they can't tie the back end of the truck tarp down, because as it flaps, you'd be surprised how much paper flies up out of that flapper area. And I have a neighbor that lives right there on my corner. If he's sitting there having his afternoon pop or whatever, he keeps track of the flappers that go back west. So he says, you know, but no, I think you've done a great job on trying to keep the state highway clean. That is the biggest problem we have with the people in Mills County, the travelers and stuff. They think that's a county highway, which it is not. So we take all the complaints on them. I pass them on to you. I've got to be like, she just says, "What do you want, Richard?" She doesn't say hi, how are you, or anything. She just wants to know what my opinion is. So, but no, I think you've done a great job in the last few months, or even the last year. It's cleaned up a lot. It's taken a lot of time, but you know, anytime you got a landfill or you got 60-mile-an-hour winds blowing at you, I'm surprised you guys still keep unloading.
So I think we do doesn't go over well all the time with our other people, but at the end of the day, we need to look out for us and our community. So I think just last month alone, we shut down 3 or 4 times just due to wind. If it's not safe to keep the trucks moving or we're losing stuff off our property, we just shut it. We'll catch up later.
Yep.
So that's kind of, like I said, that doesn't go over well outside of the landfill, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we're gonna make a mess of everything and make our lives harder. That's just.
Right.
And the new cell will be put directly west of where they're unloading now.
Correct.
And then some people have asked about other property. You have bought all the land on the east side of the road that goes down into the landfill.
So we have basically east of the current landfill, all the way to the train tracks.
Good. Going here.
I know one thing
East
that
of it or west of it?
It's all east.
East of
everything's east of
290.
The landfill that's there now.
one thing that was mentioned at our ZBA meeting last week now was when you guys were approved for the conditional use permit for the new cell.
Right.
It was stipulated that you guys would come in a year after. That was, if I remember correctly, 2020 or 2021, so some things got lost. But we'd like you guys to come back probably sometime over the next few months, just to meet with the ZBA, whoever can. But I'll make sure that we can plan that out with you guys.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
I get one as well, so I have your names.
And we've had some complaints on how ugly it is because it's not green and pretty.
So that's our goal is probably by the end of, I'd say probably end of July, everything will be seeded. Everything that is, you're seeing is gonna be seeded. We're actually gonna try to do one patch with wildflowers to see if it takes.
Sure.
That's super expensive, but we wanna give it a shot and see if we can get something happen with it. Our goal is make it look natural and something that as you drive by, it's standing out like sore thumb.
Right.
If we live by, it should look and smell like a park. It should look and smell like a park in the golf course. That's what we're shooting for. We'll have a second season event in the fall. So we're throwing everything at it.
Good.
We don't like looking at it either.
Right,
We
right.
Look at
And
nice green grass.
I don't know, you want to say some things, a lot of people don't realize that you have a $40 million methane plant back in there that is operational, so folks, it's not just burying trash. They're actually making products out of it that are shipped to East and West Coast.
Yeah, so when trash breaks down, it creates methane. It's one of the byproducts, several other types of gases. Most landfills flare it off, the big flares you see, the fire, the candlestick. This plant, what it does is create recycled natural gas. So they're sending the methane through Kinder Morgan's pipeline. So it's a great benefit to the community, but also to the environment, right? Burning that stuff off or just letting it seep out of the hill is not an option. So that's quite the investment.
The coolest part about it is it's a state-of-the-art system. The fact that it's here is just awesome because there's not very many of them out there. It's Waste Connections first funded one. There's a few other smaller ones around, but this is it's huge for just the environment and the sustainability of it.
If you could go as a group sometime or want to see it, they will allow people to come in and give tours. It's very interesting to see what they're doing with this byproduct, and what it's used for, so. Good.
Anything else?
Anybody from the audience got questions?
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll be out to see you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning,
Morning.
I'm Jan Norris. I live just inside the Montgomery County line, but I'm also a Mills County taxpayer. I'm from Farm Ground. Please forgive me for reading my comments, but I want to be concise and make good use of your time. We've had a robust meeting already. So 4 years ago, our neighborhood received certified letters with notice of a proposed CO2 pipeline project. No one knew anything about it, so I started researching. I've spent countless hours since learning all I can about carbon pipelines and the intended projects. First, I'll give you a little background. Summit Carbon Solutions has made proposals that would impact more than 1,000 miles of Iowa. Phase 1 launched in 2021 and the Phase 2 application in 2024. I'm sure you may be familiar with some of it. At first, Phase 1 anticipated impacting Mills County and held an informational meeting in Malvern. Then they later decided to alter the route and spared you. It has been a long road for Summit with many developments and delays. The bottom line is, the first project had expected to be operational by now, but currently doesn't have a route through South Dakota, which leaves the conditional phase 1 permit in Iowa unable to begin construction. Along the way, 2 other projects proposed by other companies in Iowa were discontinued, and Summit acquired some of their easements, which they anticipate coordinating into their phase 2 laterals. Those are 14 separate dockets on the IUC process. The initial Summit project anticipated connecting to the Sire plant south of Council Bluffs. When an agreement could not be reached, that line was dropped. But recently, a project in Nebraska was able to strike an agreement with Sire, and in February, Tallgrass filed a petition with Iowa Utilities Commission for a hazardous liquid pipeline. This route is approximately 4.5 miles long, with 3 miles being in Mills County, where the Missouri River would be crossed and continue into Nebraska. The line in Potawatomi County is only planned to be 8 inches in diameter. In Mills County, the maps show the pipeline coming from the plant is 8 inches, but the last half mile or so will be a 24-inch line across the river. With the route being so short, there are only a dozen or so affected Mills County landowners. Tallgrass says they have 100% voluntary easements and are not asking for use of eminent domain. However, it is a huge issue for other projects, and our state legislature has spent significant resources fighting over property rights. The governor recently vetoed a bill with some eminent domain restrictions, but now the House is calling for a special session to revisit the issue. So today I come before you to bring a few things to your attention. As I said, I have devoted a significant amount of my time over the last 4 years becoming educated on CO2 pipeline projects. I participate in 3 weekly Zoom calls and stay abreast with publications as well as other information shared daily. If I can be of assistance, please use me as a resource. Last week, the Iowa Utilities Commission ordered a scheduling conference to be held on July 8th for your project. Maybe you are already aware, but it is important enough to bring to your attention today. The commission will need to set deadlines for submissions and a hearing date and the procedural schedule. Parties must file to participate in this hearing. The deadline is coming up on Friday, June 27th. You should be encouraged to do this. You will want to hear requests being made by other parties, and when they want things to happen, by filing to intervene, you will have a seat at the table and can voice your preferences. If this project moves forward, the county will have responsibilities and needs to make sure the company is providing what is necessary. You can anticipate having to hire a land restoration inspector, prepare county infrastructure that may be affected, and will need to have the opportunity to document and take photos before the construction begins. By participating in the scheduling conference, you can provide input on what dates and considerations this county may want to include in the decision making. The county attorney and board chair are probably likely able to handle this. There will be places where the pipeline will cross county roads. If you have not already, now is the time to review your road crossing policy. For reference, Bremer County updated their right-of-way ordinance to address hazardous liquid pipelines specifically. They filed road crossing restrictions as part of the phase 1 Summit docket, if you would like to take a look. In Nebraska, Tallgrass CBA agreements require emergency response training. Mills County needs to insist on them as well. Ask the company to provide a plume model to better prepare your emergency departments on what they may expect should there be a CO2 release and who will be most affected. Some counties have passed zoning ordinances to establish setback distances from pipelines. Just recently, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals announced their ruling, providing some direction for counties who may also want to establish an ordinance. I read a newspaper article in January where one of you said you thought this needed done. Although right now you're looking at a very limited impact, that can change. In Montgomery County, at first we were looking at 18 miles. Now the phase 2 is proposing an additional 24 miles, a 60% increase. It will be very important for you to know who you are working with, and the project has transparency. Tallgrass has sequestration permits for the CO2 in Wyoming and applied for a site in Nebraska, whereas Summit has proposed going through South Dakota for a site in North Dakota. Tallgrass has said they can transport 10 million metric tons, but there is reason to believe it is much more than that from statements of their partners. It will be important to get clarity from the company. There seems to be a lack of transparency on a few things, who their partners are, and their maps only show lines and not the plants that connect to them. Currently in the US, there is only one CO2 conversion pipeline, and it transports CO2 in a supercritical phase. This project plans to use a former natural gas pipeline in Nebraska, so it will have to decompress the CO2 from supercritical to a gas, enabling them to transport it at a lower PSI once they get out there. I imagine you will want to think what could be coming next. In 2021, Princeton University published a map showing the intention of an additional 60,000 miles of CO2 pipelines across the US in the future. So let's just take a minute to think about if you were planning a trip to go back east. There are only a few bridges out of Iowa across the Mississippi, right? Dubuque, Clinton, Quad Cities, Burlington. So you plan your route based on where you can cross the river. Now think about that in the context of future pipeline routes. Could this project be establishing a pipeline bridge across the Missouri? Tallgrass only proposed an 8-inch line out of the Sire plant, but would establish a 24-inch line under the Missouri River. What might that tell us what's coming? Mills County needs to use this as a wake-up call that more CO2 pipelines could be coming. You need to prepare. Protect your infrastructure, upgrade your ordinances and policies, prepare your emergency equipment and personnel. Participate in this first short project to understand the IUC process and learn from it. This is your opportunity for the best possible outcomes for your county and its people. You don't have to do it alone. There are other counties, people, and professionals who have gained knowledgeable experience over the last 4 years. Currently, there are only about 5,000 miles of operational CO2 pipeline in the United States. This Summit project alone wants to increase that by 40%. More could be coming, and this is your chance to get ready. Thank you. So I have my card here with some contact information.
Thank you.
And then here's the map off the IUC site showing the 8-inch line and the 24-inch line. And there's the county line. And then here is the scheduling conference document from the IUC as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen.
If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Not right now, but I'm definitely gonna reach out to you when I do.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and thank you for allowing me to come in today.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Did Kate hear yet, or is she
I
coming?
hear.
You're Kate?
I'm Kate for
You're
today.
Kate today?
That's okay.
That's fine.
I definitely can't fill her shoes, but I will. do my
Right,
best.
right.
She has the handouts. We have some handouts for you as well since she gets here.
That's fine.
Those as well. First of all, so I'm Megan Shore. I am the president of East Mills Child Care Solutions. We are the nonprofit that is working to bring childcare to the east side of Mills County. We have announced that our center will be called the Lakin Foundation Child Development Center of East Mills, and so I wanted to give you an update today on that.
Thanks.
First of all, I just want to personally thank you, if I haven't already, for, deciding to grant this project some monies to really get us off the ground and get started and all that. I know that some of you on the board have taken some heat, but we all know this is a good project and
That's what we signed up
this
for.
is very needed. So just wanted to give you some status on some numbers here. Again, this will all be on the handout, so you don't have to write anything down. So as far as the construction, we are 97% fundraised. We have about $160,000 left to fundraise of our $4.9 million budget,
Well,
which
good for
again,
you.
I think that's such a huge accomplishment, especially
Just
for
a
our
few
area.
years.
Yeah, in just a few years. So yeah, super exciting. The building construction is ongoing. I don't know if you've been to Malvern lately and taken a look at the old nursing home, but it's super exciting to see kind of all that come together. Plus with the development coming in behind, it's amazing to see.
Work.
Yeah. We are actually anticipating an August construction completion, which is way ahead of schedule. And then following, we would probably need about 6 weeks to get all the rooms settled, all of the employees on staff kind of trained up and in their areas. And so that's why we're thinking now it's a mid-October opening. Again, we were initially thinking it was going to be November. And so again, just happening quicker and better. We would have really liked to align with the school opening, but this is as good as we got.
You're doing well, though.
Yeah, as far as our hiring, again, this is going to be a major employer in Mills County, right? So we hired, the board hired a director in May 2025. Her name is Brittany Rimmel. She has a ton of childcare experience. She came from Kids Can in Omaha. And so now she no longer has to commute. She lives in Malvern, which is really nice to have somebody local, somebody experienced, somebody ready to kind of take on the day-to-day, because I'm an environmental scientist. I am not a childcare worker. I just need childcare. Brittany will be full-time as of July. Right now she's part-time for us. We are creating our pay and tuition rates. We're finalizing our budget. We're creating policies and procedures. We're taking a good look of all of the things that are happening around us. So obviously we're looking at what Kids Place charges, what they pay, as well as like Stanton, Red Oak, all the centers around us. We will be hiring employees in August and September. We're going to assume about 15 full-time and 15 part-time employees. That's a good amount of employees, not to mention then, once kids are in childcare, then that frees those parents to also be working in our communities. We're going to cover those late start Mondays. Those are problems for parents a lot of times, especially if they're commuting off to work. We, the board, will continue to oversee the director, and then the director will then oversee the employees. That's kind of how that works. We're planning to cooperate with other organizations for activities and trainings. So we have partnerships with Switch, we have partnerships with the school district, the library, again, I mentioned Kids Place, and then like Head Start and some of the other things that are happening at Switch. We have approximately 50 children on the interest list so far. So it's a good amount of kiddos. As far as operations going forward, our nonprofit will continue operating indefinitely. Like, I'm not walking away from this anytime. I'm in the community. I want to see this thing keep being successful. I know Kate and Caitlin with Melbourne Bank both have a vested interest as well. You'll remember that we have the 3 wings. That north wing, we decided to not finish it at this point to keep our numbers in the right spot, but it's kind of white boxed in basically. And so if at any time we need to increase our numbers, increase our room, I think it's, adding some cabinetry, adding some plumbing, and we'll be ready to go. So I think that north wing wouldn't be hard to finish. Again, if you go on site, you'll see they're adding parking. They're going to completely redevelop kind of the whole site. The playground will be in that southwest corner there. So you'll really start to see some really nice things happening. So yeah, just here if you have any other questions or anything for me or Kate if she gets here.
It's fun to see the progress on the surveyor and other lifestyle or life. So it's I'm over there, that subdivision quite a bit. It's nice to see it.
Yeah.
See it all tore apart and getting put back together. It's good progress.
It's so exciting. And then to mention also as well, we have the new development going in. We have the safe routes to school will just be south of us as well. And so that'll be a nice connection there for kids we're right by the Wabash. So we're hoping to get a program where we get kids bikes and get them on the trail. And obviously we're having a partnership with the school district to bus the kids.
Good.
I know at one time you guys were considering doing a multi-purpose room. Was that done or is that planned?
No, that space alone was about $1 million.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, long term, we'd love to add it. It would be kind of in that northwest corner.
Okay.
But we felt it was more important to get kids in the building.
Absolutely.
So that was a piece we easily did.
Building in school.
Well, I'm very, very pleased with the progress. I like driving down there quite a bit, not only to look at the childcare center, but my sister, who has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, will be living in the new development there. Her kids will probably go to the childcare center. So children are the cornerstone of our community, and you guys are really doing great things for that side of the county. So thank you.
You're welcome. I will mention too, again, we will be adding 3-year preschool too. I think that's always big, right? We'll be, again, working with Head Start. So if there's those kiddos So we recognize some early interventions. It's always better to get to them now at this, below 5 than get them in school and have a harder time kind of working things out. So there's just a lot of positive things that are happening in that small space.
Well, and combined with the fact that a lot of the at-home daycares are kind of going away in a sense, people are aging out, like Brenda. And so it's obviously a need, and the community doesn't grow, it's gonna die. And the only way you can make a community grow, just like a church grows, is having kids there with you. So it's very good.
Employers need employees that can show up consistently and on time to their jobs,
Yep.
and they need childcare to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
It was amazing, to walk through there to see all they left was the outside shell at times. And I'm going, what's holding walls up? I mean, they dismantled everything you could think of in there, folks.
Yeah, we did have obviously asbestos issues, we had mold issues, all of that's been remediated. It's gonna, like, I walk in, it's gorgeous now, and it's just drywall, so,
Clean.
yeah.
For the issue with the sprinkler system, was that resolved? Okay, I was wondering about that one.
Yeah, so it'll all be a wet system, so it was able to connect, of course, so I actually saved this money. I mean, it's hard to believe that the construction change saved you money, but.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Keep us up to speed.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Heidi, it's all you now.
Good morning.
How are you?
Heidi, how are you?
Penny Bullock, Northwest Securities, work with the county on your outstanding bonds. And so today, been working with Amber to take a look at your TIF balances, to see if there's any opportunity to kind of pay off your bonds and kind of give you an update on where you are kind of outstanding with everything. So, I have a couple documents, I believe, in electronic form, and then, also, and then, back here, so. I'll start with giving you just a quick overview and then talk about some recommendations for, paying off some bonds here. So, this first page here, we've got Mills County general obligation debt. So these are the outstanding debts that have the full-fledged taxing authority, against it. And you go through many legal procedures in order to get these bonds. And I kind of have a summary for you. First page is just some data for you, showing the history of the valuation of the entire county. So if you see this 100% valuation, that is taking all of the value within Mills County, putting that together, and giving you that history there. Your average growth is 4.82%, in that 100% valuation. Annually, the state average is a little bit less than 3%. So from a growth standpoint, the county's doing well.
Good.
Then to the right here, we have the taxable value for debt service. That value is the value that's taken after the rollbacks that are set by the state each year, and what you can tax on from that value. And that is averages about 5%. So smaller counties throughout the state, you guys are, from a growth standpoint, you guys are doing really, really well. Wanted to just kind of point that out.
Thank you.
And I have that rollback data that the state sends each year for what they want. Anytime that the county would like to issue bonds to pay for some type of infrastructure project, there is a legal threshold. You can only have 5% of your 100% valuation in debt each year. Counties have a pretty large valuation. It's usually not an issue, but it is a legal threshold. So for fiscal year 2026, your 100% valuation is $2.5 billion. So 5% of that is $125 million. legally, you could have 125 million, in general obligation bonds. That is just a legal number, not a recommendation by any means.
Right, right. We're trying to go the other way.
You're trying to go the other direction. You currently have 3 outstanding bonds. You have an urban renewal TIF bond, you have the jail, and then the E911 bonds, which are the 2018 and the 2016. So for fiscal year 2026, the outstanding principal balances are 760, 3,050,000, and 2,965,000. I do want to note that any TIP agreement payment that you make annually also goes against your debt limit as well. So for fiscal year 2026, that's starting here in a few days here, we have about 7 million of that 125 million. So you're way below the limit. You're only about, less than 6% of that. But wanted to kind of point that out to you from where you are from a legal standpoint. The more interesting is how you actually pay that back and how those look. So I've kind of summarized that on page 4 here. So I've taken all of the principal and interest payments that the county has from those 3 bonds and added those up. So for 2025, through the rest of your bonds, you have about 7.7 million in principal, 1 million in interest, for about 8.7 in debt outstanding. To the right of that, I show how each of those bonds are paid. So there's different types of, even when you have a general obligation bond, it can be paid back with different sources. Some will use TIF. If you have the proper legal, you can do option sales tax, things like that. General fund can be used as well, but the legal backing is that debt service levy where you can impose. So the 2018 bonds are paid with TIF revenues from the I-29 TIF district, and there were some road projects done there. So you have, after the completion of this year, 3 years left on that. And then the 2 other outstanding bonds for the jail and for the E911 are paid by that debt service levy. And for fiscal year 2026, it's just shy of 60 cents is that payment there. And you're looking at having that paid off in 2023.
The early payoff, I know we get hit on those. Is that something you're coming up to, or is that?
Yes.
Are you gonna get to that? Okay.
Yeah, I will get to
Thank
that.
you. I just want to get ahead of you.
Yep, so just wanted to give you that quick summary there. The last 3 pages are the individual debt schedules and interest rates, and some call dates in there. And so if you want to go ahead and take a look at that at a later date, you certainly can. I will note, we're always constantly looking to see if there's refunding potentials where interest rates are at and where you are currently at. There really isn't any potential for that, but if interest rates would fall, we're monitoring that. We put those types of scenarios together. And looking at where the TIF balance is for that I-29 TIF district, at the end of fiscal year 2025 here that's coming up, there's about 740,000 in that account. And we're looking at the payoff 760 plus,
Sure.
so that's where it's like, we're collecting some TIF in fiscal year 2026. And there is a balance there. So I think at this point we look at, should we just pay off those 3 years early, save a little bit of interest, and kind of go forward with that. I have a little scenario here on a separate page that shows that payoff scenario. It is, in order to go ahead and do that, there is in the bond documents, it is a requirement that the board will pass a resolution that gives a 30-day notice to the investors of these bonds.
Sure.
So if the board would want to go forward with paying off these bonds, I would reach out to your bond counsel, Dorsey and Whitney, who put together the legal documents to put that resolution, in front of the board. Once that's passed, then that notification, will be directed to the investors, and then within 30 days, you can pay that off. So for this, assuming, that you want to have a resolution at your next week's meeting, you could pay this off as early as August 5th. So that would mean you need $764,120.89 to pay off that 760 plus the accrued interest between actually June 1 of this year till August 5th. That would save you approximately 42,000 in interest. Since the funds are there, and they are, those TIF funds are for the debt. At this point, it's time to pay, I would say it's time to pay that off, to take those savings into account.
Tips are great, but they're even better when you pay them off and they work.
And then that would open up some additional. tax
Absolutely.
base into not only our rules, but also back to the school, I believe.
Yes.
So, I do know that, there was an amendment done in 2017 to do these bonds. And this is really the only debt that's currently outstanding on that TIF. So, the county would not be collecting any TIF going forward from that, district, because in order to collect TIF, you have to have debts. You have to have a project. And so I wanted to put that in front of the board, that kind of bucket that you're using for projects, you wouldn't be using that any further. If there was some projects that were within that area that you wanted to do, in order to continue collecting TIF, you'd have to have a debt in place by December 1 of this year in order to continue to collect in fiscal year 2027. There's a few steps in order to kind of take that, making sure that projects are in the urban renewal plan and going into that debt, depending on what that would look like. You can do an internal loan, you can do a loan with a bank, or a bond market deal similar to this one there. So, wanted to let you know that if you wanted to continue to collect, to kind of keep that similar, there'd be some work to be done, to kind of see where those revenues are and where those sunsets are.
Perfect.
So if we do the 30-day notice, my only question would be, we'll probably need to do a budget amendment to show that we're making the payment early. Can we do the 30-day notice and then pay it as soon as we get through the budget amendment process, or how would we just wait until we're ready?
When is the budget amendment?
Well, I have to put one together, and that takes some time.
So we
do
can
that.
adjust this date
A few more weeks out.
a few more weeks out.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
And
gonna
it just
put one together anyway.
it would just change that
Okay.
interest, paying for that interest due by $100. Just let me know that timeline there, and then we'll kind of adjust from there.
Then we would still collect TIF for the balance, the 20-some thousand. We would need to collect that 20%, that 20,000, and we decertify the rest of the debt. I just need to I wanted to make sure you guys were on board before I moved further on our end. Because if you are on board, then we'll have to move our budget amendment up a little bit so we can get that moving.
I'm all for it.
We can save some money, I'm all for it, so,
And it'll add to the tax rules for the next couple of years after,
Absolutely.
which will help out a lot.
Yes.
Logical decisions.
Yeah, when that debt does come off, it does go back to those it does go back to the taxing bodies. So you're looking at the school districts, and the county levy as well.
Yes.
I will note that, with the new state's legislation, you are still limited to that 3%. So it's not quite as
Quite as
beneficial
pretty as it looks.
as it was, if you're limited in your growth and you're having to kind of lower those numbers. So and this is for, separate, if there is new valuation coming into the county because of those limitations on operating budgets, looking at TIF is, beneficial to kind of maximize, those new values that do come in order to maximize the dollars to get, essential economic development.
Perfect.
If we had to go 2 to 3 weeks out, or maybe even a month.
Give time for that budget amendment, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, as long as we've got one of
Yeah.
the.
I just wanted to make sure, so we did anything that you guys on board before
Yes.
we put a lot of evidence to it.
You want to make that formal motion so we stay on it or what?
It is a possible action item if you guys want to move forward with it. Thank you.
Yeah, just to be an action to put, that resolution on future meeting.
Good.
I would make a motion that we, keep formal action on the agenda for existing geo bonding for, whether it's for Highway 34 and I-29 or any others that would be coming up. Or is that the only one that is eligible?
That's the only one that's eligible. The rest of those are paid by a debt service levy, which you levy each year. So we don't have a balance for those.
I think we need to keep it on the agenda so that we stay on top of it.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to move forward with a resolution to pay the one of the 2018, is that what it is? Good. Debt service officer, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you again, Heidi.
Thank you, Heidi.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
You'll be at ISAC?
Yes, we'll be here before we know it.
I'll see you later this week. Yep. She'll be nice at it too, so.
Amber,
My turn.
resolution 2517.
Yep, so this is just our annual appropriations resolution that states how much money you have budgeted for each department. To pass this one, do it hopefully before July. All of the budget that was certified through the department management.
Perfect. We're talking on B then? No.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
No, we're talking on there first.
appropriating funds.
Appropriating funds, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 25-16, appropriating funds for fiscal year 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2516, appropriating funds for FY 26. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Sayers,
Aye.
Crouch,
Aye.
Mayberry.
Yes. Motion carries.
So 2517, I redid it really quickly with the 2.5%.
It's always.
Yep. For the, if you guys want to see them. Right. Put in and change those two amounts for the sheriff's office. You want to pass those down?
This reflects our action earlier
Yes,
today.
it is.
Good.
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2517, setting wages and salaries for FY 26. And a reduction of,
Everybody's at 2.5%.
pardon,
Everybody's at 2.5%.
okay. Yeah, everyone is at 2.5%.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2517. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Crouch,
Yes.
Mayberry,
Yes.
Sayers.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. New business. Caitlin, here's what I'm.
I
You
presented.
did, but
You
you want to say
papers
something?
or anything?
You have some handouts supposedly? Gotta get those.
She just goes over what Megan says. Did you guys have any questions that she couldn't answer? I'm sure she.
I don't.
Yeah.
When are you guys gonna
Think
start
you get
the
that.
hiring process for the 15 full-time, 15 part-time?
August is coming up.
We'll release the job descriptions and probably start that in July.
Yeah, so if you know people, send them our way.
You got 2 jobs, that's all I need, buddy.
Sure, childcare is Lonnie's.
It's a strong suit.
You get through 4 of them. You have anything else?
I do have a couple quick housekeeping. We had set at the beginning of the year, the accounts payable schedule. We need to do an accounts payable on July 11th. Whether that's moving that meeting to July 11th or just having a quick, instead of having a July 8th meeting, have July 11th meeting, or continue on the July 8th meeting and just have a quick July 11th meeting to just approve accounts payable. I just need to know which way you guys would like me to do that so I can get that moving and just make sure you guys are aware that July 11th I need forum.
I'd prefer to do our actual meeting on July 8th.
Okay.
Since you'll be here, Richard,
Yep.
and then we can just have a quick one.
Okay. Perfect.
Me.
And then I just want to remind everybody that July 1st is next week and that is an evening meeting. Make sure everybody's available for that meeting.
I'll be there.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Tom Honeyman from Emerson, Iowa.
Mhm.
If I could take a minute, I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking you to pay off any debts. What I want to tell you is a former resident of Mills County turned 99 years old on the 23rd of May, who has been a resident of Montgomery County for 65 years. Alvin D. Hayes joined the United States Navy south of Malvern when he was 17 years old, 2 months before he graduated from Strand High School. This would be the home farm where Rob Hayes now resides. He went into the Navy with the provision from his father that he would talk his mother into signing the affidavit if he did not join the Army, because his father was gassed in the Somme in France and given up for dead. Luckily, a foreman noticed when they were throwing him on the hay rack that his father moved, and so he got sent to the hospital instead of thrown in the ditch and buried. Al was one of 1,200 that the United States Navy trained in the Scouts and Raiders. If you're not familiar with your history of World War II, started out as a joint project because the Allies basically invaded beaches, but their intelligence was horrible. When my dad got on his brand new ship in New Orleans, the only charts they had of the South Pacific were made by the National Geographic, and they were very out of date. So all the island campaigns, and Al was in 7 campaigns, were because they were sent in 3 to 5 days beforehand, very top secret, painted black, and they recorded the depth of the lagoons, the size of the atolls, how many enemy were on the island. I started in January on this project. He's been honored by the city of Red Oak, the county of Montgomery. He will be honored by the state of Iowa with a flag and a citation on his birthday. He will be honored by a flag flying over the capital of the federal government on the Okinawa campaign, which ended the 20th of June, 1945, would have been its 80th anniversary, and that would have been his last combat mission before he went into Tokyo Bay. He will be honored by SOCOM, which is Special Operations Command in Tampa, Florida, because Scouts and Raiders are the grandfathers of the United States SEALs. SOCOM is a joint base, so right now, up to Al's dismay, the command is Army. So his citation will be signed by a 4-star general instead of an admiral, because Al is very much Navy. He is very coherent, he's very active, and it will probably be in your newspaper. It'll probably be sometime in the middle of July. You might watch for that, and I'm sure he would appreciate a call. He's like a lot of old soldiers. His family did not know what he did in World War II until 13 years ago. So he kept the resolution of the Navy that it was that top secret that he could not tell anyone. His oldest son was in my class. And he told me that they never knew what he did. He wouldn't confirm it. He lived his whole life on a farm south, down by Jan, south of Montgomery County, paid taxes, was on the school board, church board, raised 4 children. And he deserves recognition nationally because I think he's a national hero. I'm in contact with Gary Sinise to see if he can be transported to the National Memorial Day service, although his flying days are about over. We'll just have to see how his health is and if he wants to do it. But there will be a small ceremony in Red Oak sometime in July. I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
How would he be related to Rob, Tom?
It's his uncle.
It's his uncle.
There was 4 children. Bill was the oldest, then a daughter. Bill died at 97. Al is 99. Then there's a daughter that's 95, and the youngest daughter is 90. His dad lived to be 92, and because of the mustard gas, shed the lining of his stomach yearly. Every time I talk to Al, I learn something new. My own son, Lieutenant Commander Bill, suffered from PTSD when he came back from Guantanamo Bay. And I asked Al about this. I said, his battalion or his group actually, after MacArthur entertained the surrender on the USS Missouri, his ship was the 4th in line, and MacArthur gave the order for them, the scouts and raiders, to go in their boats and secure all the Japanese flags in Tokyo Harbor. So that was actually his last official mission before they sent him home. He came in on the train into Omaha at 11 o'clock at night. His dad's house had burned on the farm and they'd moved to Glenwood. He got to Glenwood at 11:30 and had no idea where they lived. And he said he went to the gas station on 275. You know where that would have been in 1945?
Skylark Station north of town.
Okay, well, it was
Maybe.
It was one
That's
that
how, that would have been.
One that's set up here right across, kind of across from the cemetery. There's a church there now.
Okay, well, he came in on a taxi and the government paid for the taxi cab and asked the guy, evidently an all-night gas station, if he knew where his dad lived. And he goes, I think so. So when he walked in the front door, they had no idea that he was even in the United States. And he said that he was absolutely lost. He would have been 19 years old and seen hand-to-hand combat, secretive combat that he still will not talk about this day. There is an up-to-date blog. If you go to YouTube and go to KCSI Al Hayes, Aaron West did an hour interview with him. And the funniest part of the whole interview, they were sitting about knee to knee, and all the people that interview him really want him to come out and say, yeah, I snuck up on these guys and slit their throat with my knife. And Aaron West, if you know him, I think he's about 45, big guy. And Al leaned forward and he said, well, we were assigned a grid on the island to count how many enemy were there so that the Navy had some idea what they were going up against. Was there 3,000? Was there 50,000? And he said, we were always wrong. But he looked at him and you could tell this, because I told West, I said, if you ask him something specific, he will get up and leave. And so Aaron's really leaning over the computer looking at him, and Al just gets a little closer and a little closer. And he says, usually when I counted them, I was as close as I am to you right now. And that guy backed up in that sofa. And then he said, what I really like to do was to count them by stepping over them while they slept. So it made an impression on non-combatant Mr. West, I'll tell you. It's a good blog. If you get a chance, he lives at Arlington Place. Bill, as you know, has passed. But Al gave me a bad time for pushing this year. And he goes, you don't think I'm going to make 100? And I said, no, Al, I don't think I'm going to make 77. That's why I'm doing it. So very interesting person, but we cannot imagine 17-year-olds today that would go and be that kind of volunteer. At the time of Okinawa was over, they were sent back to Guam to refit, and they had to sign an affidavit that they voluntarily would go into Japan on the same type of mission. And of course, he said all of us signed it. So he would have been, they dropped the bomb in August of 45, and then 6 months later, he was dispatched. Very colorful figure, very good citizen. Those people need to be honored.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Then I don't have anything new.
Make a motion to adjourn or?
Make a motion to adjourn at 9:50.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn at 9:50. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for sticking around. Appreciate it. It's very interesting.
Lonesome at the top.
Which ones?
The ones you claim or the ones you don't claim?